Ladies and gentlemen, Geri Petito.
I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
When you don't know just what to do.
Just what to do, just what to do.
If what you're feeling is really true.
Is it really true? Is it really true?
Just keep your ideas safe and sound.
Safe and sound, safe and sound.
That's exactly how change is found.
Change is found, change is found. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geri Petito Show. Everyone and anyone who knows me knows I am the author of I'm Not an Addict, I'm Just an Ass. I'd rather be a smartass than a dumbass. Because, guys, 32 years ago, I was a dumbass. But today, 32 years later, through the grace of God, I can honestly say now I'm a smartass. Yes, the word ass is in the Bible at least 40 times, and it means donkey, and that's what I was. I'm saying all that to say this. You know, we've all had the roughest few years of our lives, right? All over the world, not just here. And unfortunately, we lost too many, and a lot through addiction. So I want everyone to know someone is listening. I'm a nutritional health coach. I'm a recovery coach. All my services to you are free. Please, please, please reach out. If you think my book can help someone, please go to Simon & Schuster's bookstore, Archway Publishing, BAM, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Go to my website, www.geripetito.com, and please subscribe to the Geri Petito Show YouTube channel. And guys, listen, if you truly, truly, truly can't afford my book and need it, please reach out to me about that as well. I want to give a shout out to a few of my sponsors. So guys, all right, Paula Ann, Ablaze Entertainment and Freedom Rings Festival, helping survivors of human trafficking to live a life of normalcy. Her website, www.freedomringsfestival.com, and the Geri Petito Show is also a sponsor of hers. Okay, John Monforto, the man of many faces, singer, actor, celebrity impersonator, and tribute artist. And he was given the title by the previous Philadelphia mayor years ago as the official Philly Rocky impersonator. You heard me. He's incredible. He's off the charts. His website, www.johnmonforto.com. And he does like over probably 40 characters. My two favorite, of course, is Rocky and The Godfather. I don't know, is it the Italian in me or what, but, right? Michael Zanman, singer, entertainer, performer. The guy's off the charts. Come on, man. You got to check him out, okay? www.mzanman.com. And then Michael D'Amore, singer, songwriter, performer, entertainer. And his website, www.michaeldamore.com. And you know, everyone who knows me knows I'm the biggest Elvis fan. I know we all think we are, but I really am. And I always laugh and say, here's Elvis. Nobody could top him. But then I kind of put Michael close under him. All right? That's how good this guy is. Michael D'Amore. Check him out. Last, but certainly not least, okay? Anthony Hudson, presidential candidate 2024, and Kevin Duncan, vice presidential candidate 2024, People Before Politics. Now, I usually don't get involved with politics, guys, but there's a reason I did this time. Not only did this guy come a few times live in studio from Michigan, he's a truck driver. He's in his late 40s. The guy is off the charts and just wants to do something incredible, and he's nonpartisan. So it's not like we're fighting, you know, he's right in the middle, and he just wants to bring everybody together. And we've done a commercial for him, and one of the producers here, Ruben, he and I were invited this year to go to Yuma, Arizona, to all the borders. We spent 5 days with the Border Patrol and the Sheriff Department, and we got to see firsthand, guys, what's really going on. And here's the sad part. We were there sometimes till 3, 4, 5 in the morning, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of illegals were coming in. We want them to come in as long as they're legal, and the sad part was we met little kids without families. crying that we had to hug, and a lot of them were being exploited. So we really are trying to help the children, mostly. So I want everybody to really understand, if there's anything you guys want to talk about, feel free to contact me, because I saw it firsthand, okay? So now, we've got a really great show here for you today. So this beautiful lady I've known for many years, Terese Leigh, say hello to everyone.
Hello, how's everybody doing? Let me move my mic up a
There you
little
go,
bit.
there you
Okay,
go.
I'll get a little closer.
There you
Hello.
So, Terese, you and I have known each other for quite a while now.
Yes.
Okay? What you guys probably don't know about me is I also owned a poker league in Mercer County called Ms. Night Owl Poker. And we would go to all the same restaurants the same nights. And for years we did this. And I got to give a shout out to Marty Olick, right? Our buddy Marty,
Yes.
because he started the league and then I took it off of him. And it was Night Owl Poker when he started it. And one of our accounts was Hooters. So we were there once a week. And I got to know Terese very well. She's the manager there, still in Mercer County, right? Mercer
Yes.
Mall.
Yep, right there in Mercer Mall on Route 1.
Yep. And I got to know a lot of the girls. And someone I went to high school with, his daughter actually worked there as well. And we want to talk about, we have a really cool topic, okay? We want to talk about, what's gone wrong, okay, with the modern woman today, right?
Yes, yes. We were in a restaurant, what was it, a couple months ago?
Yes.
And we were just chatting like we always do. We always just spin off of one topic. And we just start talking about the modern young woman and what's going on, like you said. And I guess the fair question would be, and I know we had brainstormed what went wrong. I think the fair question would be what happened. Things just are completely different from my perspective on just being young womanhood. So our conversation was just so deep that day. And then we were like, you know what, we need to talk about this a little bit more and kind of dive into some of the topics facing some of our young women. And again, what happened, where do we go from here, and how can we create solutions to make things better?
So, what I want to do is, let me share this for you, so it's out there, so all your girls can watch this live.
Awesome.
Okay, so we have it there now. Okay, great. So what we want to do, guys, is talk about what's happening. And, I'm going to share something. I remember being judged by so many Christians, okay, and I'm a Christian, about my book cover. And I was even judged by a pastor who now called me and apologized, and we are very close friends.
Wow, how about that?
Because you got to understand that the word ass is in the Bible. All right, so when you see this at first, I had a woman call into my show years ago and live on air say, you need to repent. And we got her off, we cut her
wow.
mic. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because I've also been asked, how could I as a Christian go into Hooters with my poker games? Okay? I'm going to share something, and I'm going to give the mic to Terese. Here was always my response. I don't judge anyone. I don't even just judge prostitutes, because a lot of young women are molested, abused, and sometimes by family members. So the choices that people make is based on things like that, right? And do you know how many people accepted the Lord at these Hooter games? And one I'll never forget was Dave. Remember Dave?
Yeah,
Young Dave
absolutely.
was a manager, and I reached out to him and told him we're going to be doing
No
this.
way.
Okay?
Hey, Dave, if you're watching.
He will be. So I remember this like it was yesterday. And we're going back now, way pre-COVID. We're going back. The game was over, and everybody was outside smoking and doing their thing. And I was leaving, and Dave was sitting at the tall table with his back up against the window by the door. And he's like, Jared, come here, come here. And I walk over, Terese, and there's a young guy sitting here and a young guy sitting here. And Dave's, right? So I'm standing right here talking through them to Dave. I put my phone down, and my old phone had my grandchildren on one side, but on the other side, Elvis and Jesus, a photo. The young guy says, oh my gosh. He says, I'm an Elvis fan. I'm the biggest Elvis fan. He was probably 25. And he said, and I'm a Christian, and I love Jesus. I'll be right back. He ran out to his car, and he got an Elvis gospel CD. He's like,
No
look,
way.
look, I kid you not. So I said, this is incredible. And I said, what about your buddy? And he said, nah, he turned away from God. So I look over to him and I said, sweetie, why did you turn away from God? And he said, because too many people are so judgmental, even in the churches. And I said, and you're right, I agree with you. And he said, really? I said, absolutely. I said, but let me ask you a couple questions. And I asked him a couple questions. And when I answered him, when he couldn't answer them or how we talked about it, it was very quick. It was maybe 3 minutes. And he said, oh my gosh, you're right. I need to talk to God. I said, where do you want to pray? In your car. We left Hooters, went into my car. He accepted the Lord. We came out, and he's yelling in the parking lot of Hooters, and everybody's outside listening because they're smoking and all. I just accepted Jesus as my Lord and
No
Savior.
way.
Honest to God. And if I die tonight, I'm going to heaven. It was the coolest thing ever. And I remember telling everyone that judged me for being in Hooters or for anyone working in Hooters. Okay? So now, I want to give the mic to you. I want you to really start this, and I'm going to let you lead, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay.
Okay? Because I know that you're very passionate about what we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
So why don't you lead?
Well, part of our conversation was I realized that there's a disconnect from women's results and them not being able to get what they're wanting regarding motherhood, wifehood, and just where they are in life. And looking back, like talking to some of my friends or just people I know that I went to college with. In college, girls wanted to have big families. They wanted to have children. They dreamed of being married and having that type of life. And now I'm 42 years old, and now, I see some friends or some women, and it's like they didn't get the result that they wanted. And then when talking to them, it's like, well, what happened? And it's like women invested so much into their education, into their career, that they kind of forgot about what they set out life to be. So I just started thinking, like, how did we get here? How do we get to be 40 years old and forget to be a mom when that was our original goal? And there's something to be said to go out and get your education, to start your career. I went to college. I'm the general manager of a Hooters in Princeton, so I do have a career, so I understand both sides of it. But also, women are rejecting motherhood and wifehood, and I just, there's a disconnect there that I think we have to dive into.
So let's dive into it a little bit, okay? What do you think's happened? Why do you think that is there?
Well, the why could be, I think it's been happening for a long time with feminism. I think there's some good aspects to the feminist movement, and I think there were some bad aspects. I think in some ways, yes, women did not have the opportunity to go out into the workforce and things like that. So feminism provided opportunities for women to go out into the workforce and be, quote unquote, equal to men. But I think there's the difference between having the opportunity and having the equality of outcomes. And I think that, a lot of women now that we have had an opportunity to be CEOs and things like that, that's what we're striving for. And I think that we kind of want to navigate our lives as a man would, going out sowing our royal oats or sowing our seeds, for example, or lack of better terms. And we want equality of outcome. We want to be able to go out and do our thing, have our career, hold ourselves down, and also be a wife, be a mom, and all that good stuff. And I think that the place in the middle is that we're valuing one over another. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where things are starting to, the foundation of families, the foundation of, establishing not even at 30, but at 60, what does our life look like? I'm seeing a lot of articles about women, not having, I guess there's a crisis regarding unplanned childlessness. There's one thing to grow up. I have friends that have always never wanted children.
Okay.
And I think there's a difference between that and unplanned childlessness.
Yes.
There's a huge difference. And the unplanned childlessness is kind of like, it's almost like women don't realize what's happening. Then they wake up at 40 years old and they're like, oh my God, I forgot to be a mom. I forgot to go out and find a mate that I can settle down with and have a life with. So I think that's some of the, that's where it started, us chasing education, chasing career, chasing this life of Sex in the City, that kind of derailed us.
Okay, so you work with a lot of young women.
Yes.
And I'm sure you've gotten to have great relationships with most of them, so they confide in you.
Yes.
Okay, so of course we're not going to give names or none of that stuff, but like, what are some of the stories that you've been told?
So, like when you opened up your monologue and you were mentioning that a lot of women are abused. And I don't know what the statistics are on that. I don't know if it's a lot. I don't know if it's some. But what I'm seeing is, yes, there is abuse. There's physical abuse, emotional abuse. There is mental abuse, yes. But also, what is self-inflicted? As women, what situations are we putting ourselves in and not getting the result that we want and then claiming that it's abuse? For example, if you're a young woman and you're out navigating the dating scene, I know girls that go on like 70 dates a year. I know girls that have, again, maybe having sex, like I said, as a man would. So you hook up with the guy, you want to be with this person or you like this person, and you have sex with that person, and now that person doesn't want to be with you. They kind of discard you, and now, oh well, he led me wrong, or I didn't get what he wanted or what he promised me. But it's kind of like, he did, a man's only going to operate as a man would, and women and men can't operate the same regarding the sexual marketplace, let's just say. So it's kind of like, I like you said, a lot of young women, I work with women who are 18 to about 30 years old. And by 19 years old, they hate men. Number one, how can you hate a man when you never dealt with a man?
That's
I mean, you've been dealing with young men, like young boys, essentially. But at 22 years old, maybe you had 7 different boyfriends, So, again, what is being self-inflicted? What are we putting on ourselves versus outside factors regarding being molested or being abused by family members? And a lot of what I'm seeing is it's not the molestation or the abuse inside of family or something that happened in the past. It's the way we're navigating life, that we're putting ourselves through certain situations that could be avoided.
So you said a mouthful there, and everything that you said, you're right on. All right, so I know there's a lot of young women that are going to be watching this, and what we're trying to accomplish here is to make you see your self-worth, because that's really the key here, okay? All right, I'll give you an example. God, from my end, okay? I'm going to just bring God into this for a minute, because people will say to me all the time, well, if there was a God, how come all this bad stuff is happening, and to kids and all that? So this is my response, and I'm saying this for a reason, so everyone hears this, because this is life, okay? God gives us free will, and I would not want to live without it. But with our free will comes our choices. With our choices comes consequences. So when we put ourselves in situations and we make choices, and then the consequences aren't so great, we can't blame that other person. And I'm not talking about abuse, and I'm not talking about young people.
Right.
That's not what I'm talking about. You're 21 years old, and you're going out and you're sleeping with different men. Well, there's going to be consequences. You might end up pregnant. You might find yourself getting an abortion. You might find yourself being titled and named a whore, right? I mean, this is
Right,
what went
yeah,
on, especially when I
absolutely.
was growing up. But here's the thing. We can't blame people who are doing these things to us when we're allowing it, right?
Yes, Jerry, I was just talking to somebody yesterday about a situation, and I said the reality is no matter where we are right now, and it's a hard pill to swallow depending on where you are, but we are where we are because of the decisions that we make. And that goes from physical. You know, if you aren't working out and you find yourself to be overweight, well, it didn't happen overnight. This was a culmination of things that were happening throughout the years. And the same with relationships, or the same is where you are financially. We are the physical. We are in a physical manifestation of what we've been doing in the past. And sometimes, like you said, we can't blame any kind of outside factors without first looking in the mirror and seeing, well, how did I contribute to where I am now? How did I contribute to the situation? If you are in a relationship and it went sour, whether who had the most percentage of wrongdoing, what role did I play in the demise of this relationship? How did I make things go south? Self-reflection, like I said, it can be a hard pill to swallow, to know that you are not where you want to be in life, and to look back in your past and say, you know what? It's because of this choice. It's because of this decision that I got this particular consequence.
So not only what she's saying right on the money again, I mean, obviously, we've all had circumstances. There's not a person walking the earth that can say they had a perfect life. Okay? We've all had circumstances in our past. And unfortunately, if you allow these circumstances to mold you into becoming a person that you don't like, you can change that. We all have that power. Do you want to talk a little bit about maybe your childhood? A little bit.
Yeah, sure. I grew up, my parents are and were married growing up. I'm the oldest of three girls. I had, a decent childhood. I had a fun childhood. I had several cousins and whatnot. I played sports. I was always active in school. I did really well. I got an academic scholarship to Rowan University. And then what else did I do after that? Had an internship at Disney and all that good stuff before landing, being at Hooters right now. But overall, my childhood was pretty decent. I learned a lot from, watching relationships within my own family. I was always kind of intuitive, or maybe not intuitive. I could observe something and be like, I don't want that, or that's pretty cool, or I like how they handled that, or you know what, when I become a wife, or when I become even like a manager, I'm not going to treat people like that. I'm not going to do that. So I always, like, one of my nicknames growing up was Granny, because I always had like that old soul.
I love it.
And I don't miss a lot. I might not comment on it, but I don't miss it. And I kind of use that. I take what they say, eat the meat, spit out the bone type of thing. Take the good, leave the bad. But overall, I had, the two-parent household. I grew up, being a Jehovah's Witness. I never was baptized, but my mom, she was a active full-time Jehovah's Witness. So that was another different aspect of my life, because, there was a lot of things that we just did not participate in. And that was a majority of all of my childhood,
Okay.
essentially going to the Kingdom Hall and whatnot. So yeah.
Okay. So my aunt was a Jehovah's Witness when I was
about
growing
that?
up. Yep. So now, okay, so you have two siblings, correct?
Yes.
So do they have a similar life as you?
Regarding being married with children and whatnot, my younger sister, she is married. She actually has been married 1 year longer than me, and she has 4 children, her and her husband. My youngest sister is not married, and she has 2 young children as well. And ironically, myself and my 2 sisters, we were all pregnant at the same time. So my one sister had my nephew in February. I had my son in July, and then my other sister had my niece in October. So it was kind of like crazy that we all were pregnant at the same time. And people always ask, did you plan that? I'm like, no, we did not. And even if we could, what's the chances of that happening, you know?
How many children do you have?
I have two.
Okay.
Two boys, aged 11 and 6.
Okay. So now, you're my daughter's age.
Yes.
Okay? So there's a big gap between us as far as how we each grew up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Like now, we're on the same plane. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I get that. Mm-hmm.
But back in the day when I was growing up, it was a lot different when you were growing up.
Right.
Okay. So things were a little different for me, and I'm going to share some things with you, and how it's evolved.
Mm-hmm.
So, unfortunately, I was touched by an older man. I was touched by a neighbor. And I was a tough kid, and it's in my book. And I remember telling him, get your hands off of me or my father will kill you with his bare hands. I was a tough kid. I was only 14. And I was tough, and I'm still tough, But I knew I couldn't tell my father back then. My father would have killed him. I wouldn't tell young children today or teenagers to do what I did. You have to tell your parents. You have to call the cops. You have to. It doesn't matter who they are. Back then, things, even like I guess when I was born, that was even worse, I hear. There was a lot of molestation in families, and they kept it hush-hush.
Yeah.
Okay? So I made a decision, guys, at 30 years old to change the patterns that I was accustomed to growing up that were brought to my life. Because we have a tendency, families, right? Generational curses just keep coming into the new generation.
Right.
And then, so you have to break that curse. And I'm here to tell everybody that if you're struggling with anything, ladies, and this isn't just for ladies, believe me, but if you're struggling with anything, ask for help, because you can change that and you can better yourself.
Right.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
All right, so let me ask you this. If you could say anything to these young women listening, okay, that are struggling, what would you say to them?
Struggling regarding
Anything, because everyone struggles, even if they seem minute to us, to them it's huge, right? So women are struggling with whatever it is. What would you say to them?
Well, again, I think it goes back to accountability. The crazy thing I see is that, growing up, we had like the Oprah Winfrey show. We had, what's her name? Whatever. We had talk shows, and it seems like women were always allowed to express their grievances. But when it came to holding women accountable, it's kind of like, no, you can't say nothing about, women. It's always the men's fault, or it's always somebody else's fault. So my first thing, again, will be to self-reflection, self-awareness. How did you contribute to whatever happened? At first, we got to look in the mirror before we can look out any outside factors in mending relationships. I guess if there's abuse and molestation, there needs to be a mending of a relationship, whether it be with the person that was your abuser, your parents who may not have handled the situation
That's right.
appropriately, and I'm sure they only did the best that they could.
That's right.
But from what I hear in those situations, there has to be a mending of a relationship there. Therapy is always an option, counseling, but first you got to get yourself right. And before you can get yourself right, you have to see what is wrong with yourself. And sometimes you got to list it all out. Like, you know what? Here's what I like about myself. Here's what I don't. Here's what I'm proud of with myself. Here's what I'm not proud of. Here's what I can change, and here just ain't going to change, because it's always going to be the same. But you got to know where you are before you can move forward. It's kind of like before you buy a car, you do a 50-point, 100-point inspection or whatever. So before you buy that car, you're going to need some tires. Yes, it needs a starter, which may cause the alternator to fail. So you have to know exactly what is before you can even drive that car off the lot. And I think we have to kind of assess our lives the same and seeing what what's inside of me that needs to be fixed, what's inside of me that I love and that I need to kind of keep and kind of nurture a little bit more. But I think it all starts with self-awareness. And going back to just talking to young women, because that's pretty much the topic of today's show, is talking with a lot of young women. They're not very self-aware. You have a conversation with them. It's like, I feel like, and you know what I'm saying? It's like they can't articulate.
That's right.
They can't articulate what's going on inside.
Right.
And before we can do anything, that has to be articulated to get the help that we need, because we don't know what the hell we're asking for.
I managed a local restaurant
Mm-hmm.
for a few years at night, and I wanted to pull my hair out of my head talking to these young girls.
And that was then, right?
No, this was
this recent?
This was pre-COVID.
Okay.
This was pre-COVID.
Okay.
And I'm just like, they can't. You're right, exactly. They can't articulate. Well, what are you thinking? I don't know.
And this is regarding anything.
Anything.
A lot, so,
Right.
Before we analyze emotions and feelings and thoughts and past experiences, it's hard to even articulate, like, in a restaurant. So what happened with the guest? Well, you know what I'm saying? He just, the way, you feel me? No, because you didn't say anything.
That's right.
So how can I help you with this situation if you can't help me?
Okay, I'm glad you just said what you said, because
Mm-hmm.
I feel you, girl. I feel you. I had issues with the young waitresses because if a if a customer said your hair is beautiful, they ran in the back crying that the customer was flirting with them.
Yes.
I said, listen, at my age, let them tell me my hair is beautiful. I don't care. Let them flirt with me.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we're not talking about anything sexual.
Yep.
We're talking about, oh, you have such a pretty smile. He's flirting with me.
Yeah.
It's getting crazy.
Yes, it is getting crazy. I just dealt with that yesterday. There was a
Okay.
young lady who had an issue with the guest staring at her. And it's kind of like, the Hooters environment. We hire beautiful women. They are beautiful beings. And somebody's checking them out. They take it as, well, stop looking at me. Stop staring at me. And again, I think maybe this is the societal pressure of the Me Too movement. Because now the Me Too movement, like you said, a man or anybody can't, wow, your hair looks beautiful today, without you interpreting as to, he made me feel uncomfortable. And it's like, back in my day, it was just a pure compliment, and like you said, let somebody tell me my hair looks good. It's like, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And now it's being interpreted completely different with the younger women.
So I have a question for you. Okay, because I know what my audience are going to be messaging me. If these girls don't want people to stare at them, why are they working at Hooters? Okay, so let's talk about that.
Right. Well, women, I think we are interesting creatures. It's kind of like, we put the effort into our image and our looks and our appearance. But it's like selective, because, again, you can have man A, man B. I think women kind of do... They walk into a club or whatever. Let's say a woman walks into a club. She's scanning that club. Yeah, I want him to come buy me a drink. Ooh, yeah, he look fine or whatnot. So when that man approaches her, anything that he does is not going to be received well. Anything he does is not going to be received well. So that man that is not going to be a compliment now. It's harassment. Now the man that I wanted to buy me a drink, he can come and say anything, and now it's all good, because you ever see that meme where it's like, hey, Sally, your hair looks great today. And he's like, fine. And he got the suit on, driving the nice car. And then it's the other guy who they always have like fat and slovenly saying, hey, you look nice today. But one, she's like, oh my God. The other, same thing, but that's harassment. So I think that plays into the fact, because I'm sure that the girl that had the guy stare at her yesterday, had it been a mate that she saw to be worthy, or that she would have selected, it wouldn't have been the same. It would have been like, ooh, let me try to get his number, or I hope he asks me out. So I think that plays a role into it as well. So it's hard. I mean, I can't even give men advice on how to navigate those situations. And I think, too, it goes back to the feminist movement. It goes back to the men used to open the car doors and open up doors for women. But women started saying, well, I'm strong and independent. I can open up my
That's
own
right.
door.
It's-
Like, what are you doing?
Right.
And now when men don't do it, it's kind of like, where's the men at? Like, nobody's opening up doors anymore.
Okay.
Men are just like, you know what? I'm not going to do anything to get me in trouble. We got the Me Too movement. I don't want to be accused of harassment or bothering anybody. So I'm just going to wait for women to make their move on me. And now that's another side of it, because we have gotten to this point now where men used to walk up and ask for a number. They used to offer to buy a drink. Now men are kind of falling back, and it's forcing women to make moves. So now women have to learn how to spit game to a man and get his phone number. Like, I'm seeing a lot more women. Like I'm 42, born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s. It was almost unheard of for a woman to approach a man for a phone number or to ask a man to dance at like homecoming and prom. But now it's almost it's in a situation where men are like, you know what, I'm not budging, I'm holding the line, I'm not opening up no doors, I'm not buying no drinks, I'm not asking for any phone numbers. And it's almost forcing the women that are looking for men to now shoot their shot, per se, at men. And women, that's uncomfortable for them. But in order to get a date now, it seems that's the way to go. Like on the dating apps. I mean, dating apps were not around when, I was quote unquote dating and whatnot. But now, talking to men, talking to women, men are waiting for women to, slide right if you like them or whatever, double tap to like it. But men are not shooting their shots at the women. So I think that's also something that's different now than it was then.
Okay, so now, all right, one more question about girls working at Hooters. So a girl comes in and applies.
Yes.
Do you have to say to them, like, men are going to stare at you? Is this job right for you? Do you have to, reference that?
Well, I always ask if they are comfortable in the Hooters environment. Because, again, we're hiring beautiful women.
Yes.
People are going to stare. So I always make sure that they're comfortable with that. I'm sure, like you said, you were born in a certain time, so was I. And I think our skin is a lot thicker.
Yeah.
We're not taking, oh, your hair looks good, or somebody staring at us as a compliment. We're thinking we're having a pretty good day. So I'm just I always ask, have you ever been to Hooters before? Because some girls, they walk in, they never have been to Hooters before. The first time in Hooters is actually applying. And some girls like, yeah, my parents used to take me when I was younger, since I was 3. And, I just always loved it. I had a birthday there or whatever. That girl probably understands what Hooters is. She came with her parents. Her parents are comfortable with her being there. She understands what the environment may or may not be, versus the girl coming in on her first time. So I always ask, take a look around. What was your first impression coming in? And Hooters has changed over the years regarding the market demographic. Like, I mean, you can sometimes look around even when we had the poker nights. Like, we had families come in, we had women come in. So I think that has changed too, which has helped. But yeah, I always ask to make sure that, they're comfortable with being looked at, being possibly hit on, if they can handle and navigate themselves through that situation.
Good. So now, I want to read a couple poems in my book, but before I read this one, do men come in to apply?
No. Have I ever had a man apply?
I mean, once.
over time, I'm like, what is going on? But actually, Hooters went to the Supreme Court with that back in the day.
Yes, that's why I'm asking.
So I mean, we have had men apply. It was obvious pranks because their friends are like outside with a phone. It's like, all right, this ain't serious. But yes, there have been a couple times where we have had a couple of serious male applicants.
And you have the right to say no?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we hire only women to be Hooters girls.
I mean, I wouldn't mind coming into Hooters and seeing a really hot guy with no shirt on, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Tapping into a whole nother market, Bringing in the ladies on a Thursday night ladies night. Right. Night owl bartender.
Look at my silly producer, okay? He's behind the glass swinging his craziness. All right. The first poem I'm going to read is called Face It Till You Make It. So, we're talking about, we're trying to give you guys advice. And what she was saying, Terese, what you were saying about, look in the mirror and you have to be accountable.
Yes.
Okay? That's the first part of it. I've interviewed this woman, one of the most unbelievable stories in all my years of doing radio shows. She was molested by her own mom starting at 6 months old,
Wow.
okay, up until teenage years. And then she was just dropped off at uncles' and cousins'
Wow.
houses for hours at a time to let them do whatever they wanted. Then she was beat. She's got brain damage and everything. Let me tell you what she's doing now. She's an advocate for helping child trafficking. She's an author. She's incredible. Can you imagine going through that your entire childhood into your teen years and even being beat so bad by all family members that you have brain damage and still saying, I can do something? So this is what I think everybody needs to hear. It's called face it till you make it, okay? Fake it till you make it is a term heard so much. I don't really agree. It's living with a crutch. Not just for addiction, all life lessons, my friend. That's a saddened life to live until the end. I'd rather go by saying more real, face it till you make it in spite of how you feel. We gotta grow up, put our past behind. In spite of our hurts, there's greatness to find. I'd rather go through life smiling every day, holding up my chin, all good things to say. Positive thinking and actions likewise throw out a force up into the skies. What we project is what we will earn. Karma is real. We each have a turn. Your thoughts are wired to make you think. With what you do can make you sink. Keep all your thoughts uplifting and real. Feeding your mind crap destroys how you feel. So don't put out crap. It comes back to bite. Stand up real tall and just fight the fight. I promise you this, if you face all your fears, it may be quite scary, but will add to your years. One day you'll be happy with who you now are. Just look at me, I've really come far. I look in the mirror and like what I see, but most important, I really love me. See, that's important, guys, because, you know, everybody says, oh, if I say I love myself, that's being egotistical, and no, it's not. Okay, you were created out of love, and you were created to love. So the first person you need to start loving is yourself, because if you don't love yourself, you can't possibly love anyone else. It's impossible, right?
I agree. And that's a beautiful poem,
Thank
by
you,
the
sweetheart.
way. Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. That's really beautiful.
You know,
But yeah, self-love. I mean, that's really where it starts, because that's where we start to understand what our value is. And I think, you know, a lot of women, they don't even understand that they have value or they are valuable. And some of the things that they value more is something that everybody comes standard equipped with. You know, what's special about you that really makes you and you unique, you know? Yeah, so that's really important. Yeah, that was beautiful.
thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. You know, I really hope somebody out there really needed to hear all this today,
Yes.
because we just want to help you. You know, there's no judgment here. You know, we're both moms. I'm a grandmother, and I'm sad, like, for what's happened in this
Right.
world. And I worry about my granddaughter. She's 8 years old. And again, this isn't just for women. There's a lot of men out there also that were abused, right? Or that have no self-worth and don't love themselves. And this is for everyone listening. Okay, you're all worth it. You know, Terese, what's really sad for me is even schools. What goes on in the schools today?
Yes.
And I'm going to share something with you. You know, I read something, and then I'll get to the schools before I forget this. This is important. I read something somewhere where a girl was drowning. She was at the bottom of the pool. And a man jumps in, saves her life, gives her mouth to mouth. Do you know she sued him
Wow.
for not asking permission to give her
Wow.
mouth to mouth?
Wow.
This makes everyone not want to help anyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Back in the day, do you know how many people I picked up that were stranded on the side of the road, had a flat tire, whatever? I brought them to where they had to go. I wouldn't do that now.
Right. Yeah, everybody's in their own lane of, you know what, I'm just going to mind my business.
That's right.
I don't know what's going on over there.
And plus,
They can just die on my watch. I
You
ain't
know?
giving them mouth to mouth because of situations like
Yes,
that,
it's
you
very
know?
bad.
Yeah.
and you know, I'm a poker dealer. I have so we had to learn we had to learn all this. Do you know, if I was working at a casino and I was dealing and somebody was having a heart attack, do you know that I couldn't leave the seat because of the
Wow.
money to help them. So everything is just
Yeah.
crazy anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
You know?
That's wild.
And you have to ask permission. If someone's dying, can I help you?
Yeah. Yeah, that
Okay.
is scary. It's
You know?
scary.
Now the schools are the same thing, and you know, my granddaughter's homeschooled, but not homeschooled the way you think it is. My granddaughter is with a group of kids. All the parents are on board, and they pay these incredible teachers. It's a nature school.
Yeah, I remember we were
Okay?
talking about that.
It's a nature
yes.
school, so she's with at least, I want to say, 13, 14 kids a day. They go on hikes, they do things, they go on trips. It's amazing. They make homemade desserts that are gluten-free, vegan. I mean, it's amazing what the school does. And I just think that's how it should be.
Right.
You know?
Yes. Yeah.
Teachers can't say anything to the kids. They can't discipline the kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's so horrible today.
Right. Right. Well, you touch on it a little bit in your poem where it says that you have to be kind of conscious of what you're putting in your mind. You have to be conscious of what you're putting in your body. And I think that can be something you start today. I'm a believer that if you can control what you can put in your mouth,
That's right.
you can control darn near everything in your life.
That's
because
right.
that's the most difficult thing.
Because you have to
control.
eat every day.
You have to eat every day, and we love. I love sugar.
Sure.
I love I love a good chicken wing. I love a good curly fry. But there has to be some level of self-discipline. So I know a couple of conversations I've been having with the young ladies at work. They're in their 20s. Their bodies are in their prime. They're probably physically at their prime. They don't believe it, and then 10 years later, like, I was the bomb when I was a Hooters girl. Now look, and it's like, yeah, girl, because you had it going on when you were in your 20s. So I guess they don't look at it, so much where they have to control what they put in their mouth. But a lot of the young ladies, I think that's really where it starts, because that takes the most self-discipline to kind of, I'm not going to eat this crap. I'm going to eat this. Because just like if you're putting something in your mind, if you're taking in like violent stuff all day, or if you're taking
Right.
in podcasts talking stuff, negatively about anything going on, that's what is going to be in your mind, and that's what you're going to start seeing in the world. You're going to start acting accordingly, and then whatever you're putting out is only going to bounce back. So I think the first tangible thing that can be put into action today is to change the way you eat if you're not eating well. Because once you start eating better, you start feeling better. Number 2, I didn't even know you were into nutrition until I learned that in your monologue. But get fit, get in the gym. Those are 2 things that you can't look at anybody else and blame anybody else because where you are nutritionally or where you are physically. You can get in the gym. You can go start by walking. You wouldn't even imagine how much better you would feel by just some physical activity, walking, doing some squats. If you're on watching TV, kind of be conscious of what you're taking in. Do some crunches, and you'll start to physically feel better. And once you start to physically feel better, I think it all kind of that's where the ball starts to get going. And you start to develop some kind of self-discipline, and then you start to feel confident. Self-discipline leads into confidence, because it's like, you know what? I can do this. I can control what I'm eating. I can control the way my body is feeling and where my body is now. And then you start to believe in yourself a little bit more. The more you start to believe in yourself, then you start to put other things into practice. Get your finances in order. It's amazing that we as women are so focused on education and career, but we're riddled in debt. And it's all self-inflicted, because again, we want the latest, we want the greatest, we want something new, when it doesn't even have to be like that. So start by getting things that only you can control in order. Start by what you're eating. Start by your physical activity. Get your finances in order. And then you can present to the world a whole person. When you're physically not feeling well, we're women. When we feel good, when we look good, we feel good. And then we start to act good. And then we start to have good attracted to us. When we are financially in a good shape, our mental capacity is a lot more clear than what it is when we're riddled in debt and figuring out how I'm going to rob Peter to pay Paul. So get all of that off of you. So now you can start presenting to the world a whole being, somebody that's healed. You talked a lot about, being in abusive situations. Get the therapy that you need. Like I said, I believe that a lot of things are self-inflicted, but there are women that have been abused. Get the help that you need. I pray for everybody's healing that's been in that
That's
situation,
right. That's right. That's right.
And then, just start self-assessing situations. Don't involve yourself in a relationship with anybody that does not have intentions for you. I've been in that same situation, dedicating my life, my years to someone that had no intention for a future. I put myself in that situation. I can't look back at that person and say, well, look what you did to me. That person never said they wanted any future with me. That person never said they wanted a family and children with me. So how can I blame that person? So again, self-assessing. But I think those are some things that you can really put into action. You never believe how much of a positive impact that will have on you.
So you mentioned, food and sugar. So I want to talk to everybody because this is major, guys, okay? So I was so sick. I was in my late 20s and in the early 30s, so sick, I had cancer. I had breast cancer, I had colon cancer.
Wow.
And I was about 100 pounds. And when I tell you sick, and I knew I was probably going to die if I went the medical route because I was that bad. So I found some naturopathic doctors to get me on the right track, and I ended up bringing a home colonic system into my home.
Wow.
I did a 60-day water fast. I had to train. I had to learn how to do it. No one's ever going to die from a fast, but you can die breaking it improperly. What I've learned since then, I've been all over the world. I've traveled all over the world, including Russia and China when it was communism. Okay, I had machine guns pointed at me on medical tours through Lenox Hill Hospital back in the 80s. And I'm going to share a silly story with you so you get it, okay? The first week we were in Japan, okay, they said they just brought McDonald's there. So it was the first time McDonald's was in Japan. And, of course, all the Americans are like, we got to check out the Japanese McDonald's, right?
Right.
So my cousin gets a soda, takes a sip and spits it out and says, oh, my God, it's like poison. It's like poison. So I didn't really drink soda, but I took a little sip, and I was like, oh, my gosh. Well, the tour guide's laughing, the Japanese tour guide. And she said, that's because we don't allow the crap you guys allow in these products. So McDonald's, I've been behind the scenes at all of them, even in Australia, Starbucks, every one of them. Listen to me. We have in this country 9 1/4 teaspoons of not even sugar anymore per can of Coke. We have high fructose corn syrup. Okay, in one can. Over there, they only allow, if Coca-Cola wants to come there, they have to change their formula for them, 1 teaspoon of real sugar.
Wow. So say that again. How many?
9 1/4 teaspoons of high fructose corn syrup
Wow.
in 1 can of Coke here.
Okay.
Over there, when Coca-Cola wants to go to these countries, they have to change their formula for them to 1 teaspoon of real sugar in a can.
Wow.
Got it? Okay. Even Starbucks, organic coffee, organic teas. Okay. I'm in McDonald's in Australia behind the scenes watching them crack organic eggs.
No way.
Okay. You know what the eggs are in McDonald's? All right.
Right.
I'm saying this for a reason. I've been a vegan now for over 30 years, and everything in my life is organic that goes inside my body and on my skin, everything. My mattress is organic, all my cleaning supplies, everything, because I have to, okay? I got so messed up, right? I'm going to say something to all of you young people listening. If you care about yourselves, because everybody says they do, but then they do all this terrible stuff to hurt themselves. If you care about yourself, get off of all sugar immediately. Start there. Your brain does not think you're putting sugar in your body. Your brain cannot tell the difference between that and heroin. Your brain thinks that's why 100% of addicts are addicted to sugar.
Wow.
And what do they give them in rehabs? Sugar.
No way.
Well, yes way. Here's donuts all day. All right, keeps them from flipping out.
Interesting.
Okay? So guys, listen. We're here to just help anyone who's listening that needs help. Now, ladies, and I'm going to say something, and I might sound a little strong, but I'm not. I think you need to hear it this way. If any man is touching you and abusing you and hurting you, I don't care if it's mental, physical, whatever, if a man is abusing you, you need to get away from him. Do you hear me? So, what do you think about women who allow men to abuse them? What do you think's going on?
Yeah, well, we just, I don't know if you follow like any kind of pop culture, but have you heard about the P. Diddy Cassie situation?
My daughter knows
Okay.
about all that.
Well, when pretty much she was a singer, whatever. She
Yes, I know.
was in a relationship with P. Diddy.
Yeah, P. Diddy.
And then now I guess he got hit with a lawsuit saying that she was abused and whatnot. And again, yesterday having a conversation, I just said, well, what part was she complicit in? You know, how long are we going to let the abuse go on before we kind of pull away from situations? And I do understand that there are different circumstances that may keep women in that situation. And I think segueing back, part of the issue regarding women, like back in the day when the men were the only breadwinners
That's
and
right.
brought home the money.
That's right.
Women, I guess,
They had
were
no
kind. They
choice.
had no choice. They stayed in that
That's
situation because I had no money. You know, I have these kids I need to feed, and where am I going to go? Now, you know, we have different options. And again, I think if we look back and we're in a relationship in which we're being abused, we have to say, damn, I saw that red flag 3 months into the relationship. I saw that go a little south a year, and I kind of let it go and whatnot. So again, it comes to setting what is your boundary? What is a non-negotiable? What are you willing to deal with? Because you got women that say, you know, I don't care if my man cheat, long as he.
No, I can't take it.
You know, and then there's some women that says, no, it's a firm, hard no for me. I don't care what the situation is. Every woman, I guess, is going to be different regarding that. But again, where is your boundary? Where when you see that red flag of, yeah, well, he disappeared for a couple of months and didn't come back. You know, that was a red flag, but I let it go. And now here I am 10 years later in this situation. So again, get the help that we need. I think now more than ever, there's too much information on YouTube.
Yep.
There's too many resources. There's too many free resources and outlets that we can use as a people, like you said, not just with women, that we can kind of navigate ourselves to a better situation.
Well, first of all, before I read this poem, I want to thank you for being this incredible guest here.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
But I don't want you to leave and say there was something you forgot to talk about. The mic is yours. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, I think we said a lot right now.
Okay.
Again, I think start with change what you can change. You know, we have more power than what we think that we do.
Yes.
Imagine the woman that you want to be. I always tell girls, get to 40. You know, if you're 20 years old, where are you at when you're 40? Because 20s, everybody in school, we all broke. Nobody got money in your 20s. We're all trying to figure things out. At 30, we start to throw a couple things on the wall. It starts to stick. We decide on what we like and what we don't like. At 40, we're halfway through life, and again, we're at the point now where all our past decisions, good and bad, are catching up with us. And at 40, now you can't hide, quote unquote, hide from life. It is what it is at that point.
Right.
So try to imagine if you're not where you are, if you want to be now, physically, mentally, regarding your career, your education, where are you at 40? And then kind of work backwards on how do you get from 20, 22, 25 to 40 being where you want to be now, and put some actionable steps into place.
Perfectly said. Wow. So, all right. Before I say my final thank yous to you, I want to read another poem. And there's a reason why this poem's very important. It's called Utilizing Gifts and Talents. Everyone listening, you have something to offer. Okay? God didn't say, okay, I'm going to make this person super beautiful and you ugly. I'm going to make this person sing and you can't sing. No, everybody has something to offer. But here's the thing. You have to step up to the plate and figure out what that is and then utilize it. Okay? So, if you're doubting your self-worth, please, please, please listen to every word of this poem, okay? We are born with talents. We are born with drive, with different gifts to help us thrive. I knew early on I was born to draw and paint, to also write poetry, and to talk without restraint. Our gifts and talents should all be used. God's gift to us not be abused. We can go far in life for sure, using our gifts to go on tour. All our talents should be used to create ourselves and more, but then our job's to share them, to even up the score. You see, in life, what's needed is not just for ourselves. Once our gifts are mastered, take them off the shelves. A living we can make by spreading them around, not just for the money, but to spread a peaceful sound. Don't take for granted the gifts you're given. Go out and spread the joy. Our gifts are not to be held back for us to self-destroy. Put your efforts forth. Do not hesitate. All your talents, my friend, are never second-rate. Never hold them back or you will surely die. Maybe not in body, but your soul will cry. Our gifts were made to share, our talents made to soar. Go through life enlightened and then you can roar. Be proud of who you are. Be happy you're alive. Once again, my friend, your gifts will help you thrive. By putting efforts forth, not keeping them at bay, your name, Terese Leigh Gray, will live forever, girlfriend, forever and a
Oh,
day.
I love that.
Go through life excited for what you sure can give. To yourself and others is our reason to live. Our grave will be quite lonely, but our legacy lives on, so make sure people smile with the breaking dawn. You know, I want to say thank you to you for a few reasons here. For opening up yourself in front of everybody and talking about the things you've talked about. For being the manager at Hooters, because these girls need someone like you. And, you know, like I'm listening to you talk and I'm thinking, you need to be a counselor. But you are. That's what you're doing there. And you're exactly where you need to be.
Well, thank you, Jerry.
And I mean that, but I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because without someone like you, these young girls would be lost that work there. You know, I'm just speechless with everything that you've said and how you've articulated everything. This was amazing. You know, I knew when we talked that day that we needed to do this, but now I know why we really did this.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much. And shout out to you. Ever since we met, you always been so transparent and genuine. And just the way you communicate, it was just like, you know, like kindred souls, you know. So I appreciate you having me and allowing us just to chat about the topics that we always had at the tables in the restaurant.
So thank you, sweetheart.
No,
this
thank
was
you.
beautiful.
You're
Absolutely
welcome.
beautiful.
Thank you.
So, producer, take us out.
Ladies and gentlemen, Geri Petito.
I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
When you don't know just what to do,
Just what to do, just what to do.
if what you're feeling is really true,
It's really true, is it really true?
just keep your ideas safe and sound.
Safe and sound, safe and sound.
That's exactly how change is found.
Change is found, change is found. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.